Right, folks, welcome back to this week's Brew Time. And I have Andy Hodgson and Rosalind Chaston, who together are Atlantic Escapade. How are you doing, guys?
Good,
yeah, great.
thank you.
How you doing? You all right?
Oh, yeah, all good, all good. We were supposed to chat at the recent Armchair Adventure Festival, weren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the plan. Yeah, we were down there for the weekend.
Yeah, I was gutted. I missed that. Well, I was there, but unfortunately we had a bit of a family emergency, so I had to dash home straight away, like a few hours after getting there on Friday. So we've got you on the podcast and we'll have a little chat. Before we get going, can I hand it over to you guys just to introduce yourselves and to say what Atlantic Escapade is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2018, Andy rowed his boat solo around Britain, and then we met, decided to do something a little bit warmer, so decided to row across the Atlantic Ocean as a pair, and we are setting off in January from Gran Canaria, rowing 3,000 miles and finishing off in hopefully sunny Barbados.
Now, I have an admission here. I made a mistake, folks, because I posted up on the socials to say that Andy and Rosalind were doing the Talisker Atlantic Challenge, which is a Talisker whiskey thing every December, isn't it? They head off and they do straight across to where is it? They go?
Yeah, so
Antigua,
it's really similar route. So they go La Gomera to Antigua. We're going Gran Canaria to Barbados. So
Gotcha. Same
ocean, just slightly different start and finish.
So are you guys going to have like a support vessel with you or anything like that? Because I know Talisker has a couple of boats that are there just in case.
That's the key difference. Yeah, we're going completely unassisted, like entirely on our own.
Wow.
So, yeah, like if you're part of the Talisker race, then you get a lot of support and benefit from the guys that organise it, and you get a support yacht. We can't. It's beyond our means, unfortunately. So we're on our own.
Wow, that adds a new dimension to it. Gee whiz.
Yeah, there's a little group of sort of rogue independents that have like special love for each other. So yeah, the event is great and it's really well organized, but it's just beyond us. So yeah, everyone that goes on their own, we're like independent rogues just sort of looking out for each other.
Awesome. That is mega. Right, I'll tell you what, I forgot to do this, very rude. Do you have a tipple of choice for the evening?
Oh, at the moment, I'm on the tea.
Yeah,
it's all right, no worries.
I'm actually really upset we didn't get beers now.
Yeah.
You didn't get beers in? I did tell you, didn't I? Did I not say?
Yeah, you did.
All right.
I can't believe we can watch you with envy. Yeah. You can describe how good it is to us.
Tell us how it tastes, Bruce.
I tell you, I was sent these. I need to say a big thank you to Mark Kent from Epic Motorcycle Adventures. It's a YouTube channel. Mark sent me these beers to try, to get me off Brewdog. He sent me some Brewdog as well, but he sent me these from Vocation Brewery. Life and Death, it's called. Slange, cheers to your health.
Slange, yeah.
Ooh, that's citrusy.
Is it
citrusy. Good? Oh, yeah, it's hollyhocks. yeah. That's lovely. It's very nice. Thank you, Mark. Cheers for that.
Oh, it makes our tea sound really boring.
I did the last week's podcast I did with this Danish chap called Thor. Yeah. He's been on the road for 9 years. He's gone to every single country around the world without flying. So he just got to Vanuatu. Yeah, Vanuatu, I think it's called, which is country 200 for him in the South Pacific Islands. So it was like 8 o'clock at night for him.
Wasn't he hiding in his bathroom?
Yeah, that's right. That's the one. But for me, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, I can't have a beer, Thor. I'm going to have to let the side down and just have a coffee. But anyway, back to you guys. So what instigated this whole thing? Obviously, Andy, you have a little bit of a pedigree in terms of rowing.
Yeah, I'm a slow learner. Weirdly, for me, obviously, round Britain was kind of a different story. Like very much like your round the world trip. Like I was caring for my nan, and when she passed away, I was kind of left with not much to do, and I was living with her and lost the house and working in the gig economy. So I was kind of at a massive loose end. And I'd read Ben Fogle's book. That guy's got a lot to answer for, and just kind of wanted to try and think of the hardest thing I could possibly do, and see if it would kill me or if I could manage it. And so that's when I sort of got into ocean rowing, and it was going to like festivals, you know, and things like I was going to Hub, and I was going to Overland, and I was going to like the Armchair Festival and things like that. I see all these films and stuff of people just doing epic round the world trips or just like adventures. And I'd go away each year, and I'd just be like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'd love to do that, but it's not really for me. I'll just get back to the 9 to 5 and crack on. And it just all came to a head after my nan passed away, that I was just like, do you know what? I have to do something. I can't just keep saying, oh, I'd love that, but maybe another lifetime. And so, yeah, just went for it, and then sort of managed to get hold of a boat that was sort of secondhand, that had been across the Atlantic a couple of times, and then sort of started training for that and figuring it out. And sort of 2 years on from that, I found myself around the coast of Britain.
And then I think was pretty much retired. Like,
yeah. It took me 6 months to circumnavigate the country, and I was living on the boat the whole time. And there's no shower, there's no toilet facilities, anything like that. So
6 months.
Yes, yeah.
Oh
I mean, I was
God.
in no rush, so I was kind of like no one had done it before me, so like there was no time to beat. I was just like exploring, and
honestly, he spent so much time mucking about, right? So for the Armchair Adventure Festival, we were doing a talk, and I was editing together some videos just to show. And so I watched through every single video that he took on Round Britain of 6 months at sea. And there are literally videos of him rowing into caves, going, oh, that's
just
nice.
having a little look.
Yeah, it's epic. Like down on the south coast, there's like these cathedral caves, and I've got my boat's quite small, so I can just about get it into these caves. But then like the tide started coming in, and it was getting a bit bouncy, so I was like, all right, scarper from here and carry on. But
trying to learn Spanish.
There's loads of
absolute so much mucking about.
Yeah, but after that, I was pretty much retired. I didn't want to see that boat again, so it's sat up in a barn in rural Oxfordshire somewhere, and I was trying to sell it, and then met Rosalind.
Yeah, that was kind of my fault.
And then you thought, oh, this sounds like it could be a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, so I never heard of ocean rowing. I didn't really know it was a thing you could do, to be honest. Had never sailed or particularly been nautical at all. And I heard actually within about 2 hours of meeting Andy, we were talking about doing the Atlantic together.
Wow.
Because a friend, we met through a friend of a friend, and he said, oh, Andy rowed around Britain. And I went, you did what? You know, what do you mean you rowed around Britain? And yeah, I just thought it sounded like an amazing thing to do. So we decided to do the Atlantic together.
Yeah, hatched a little plan. And
fantastic.
Yeah. And
that's
here we
mega. So what's your background then, Rosalind? You're an ocean swimmer, is that right?
Yes, I do a lot of swimming. I'm not particularly good. I just enjoy it, really. But part of my interest is that I work in science education, and a lot of my degree was oceanography and atmospheric physics and things. So I was very interested in it from that kind of point of view. So yeah, I think the idea of being able to actually be at sea and sort of feel and experience the things that I've learned about is really exciting for me. So I actually want to go and do some more oceanography in the future. We'll get the row out of the way first.
In terms of the Atlantic row, then, if you're not part of the Talisker Challenge, what is it that you want to get from the row? Like, what's the purpose of the row for you guys then?
I think there are a few sort of elements to it. It's not just one thing, but I think the main experience is just to get across. I think the sense of achievement we'll feel from having taken ourselves all the way across the Atlantic is, I think it'll be the hardest thing we've ever done, but I hope we finish sort of stronger than we started. What do you think?
Yeah, it's that similar thing. It's I always like sort of pushing myself as hard as I can and not knowing if I can cope with it. And I think that's kind of the draw for me, and just seeing like if it's actually possible for me to do it. Like you see some other guys that are all lined up at the start line, they're 6'8", built like rowers and stuff like that. And then there's sort of little old me at 5'9", just going, hello. So, it's like, it's partly pushing myself as hard as I can and see if I can cope with it. And otherwise, like you do get a little call back to the ocean for me. Like I was a surfer when I was at uni in Bournemouth, and that's where a sort of love of the ocean came from. And now if I'm ever that far away from it, I kind of do feel like itchy feet. I guess it's like being on the road. Like I think anyone that's traveled long distance would probably feel the same little urge after a little while. You're like, oh, God, what's out over that hill? And kind of get back out there and do it again. So for me, it's that.
Yeah. And I think the truth is we both kind of struggle with ordinary life a little bit. Sometimes it's just also, stressful and loud and stuff. And I think just having that achievement at the back of your head to go, I don't want to send this email, but I have rowed an ocean, so I can probably muster up the courage,
Yeah, I remember for me, I felt like I got to a stage in life where that wasn't it. Like I knew there was more. It's like I need more. I need more from this, because this just isn't it for me. I need something. Yeah. I need a challenge. And I've had a lot of people on this podcast who've done incredible things. Like walking across continents, cycling around the world, rowing the ocean, all sorts of stuff. And everyone seems to have that. Everyone seems to have this driving. I was going to say feeling or urge, but it's just something that is there that rears its head. And often there's a catalyst for it, a death in the family, a near-death experience, anything like that. But everyone seems to have that burning, that yearning, whatever it is, to achieve whatever this is that they've set their sights on. And what you're saying there about Andy, what you said about when you turn up at the start line, you've got all these great big, like 6'8", 6'10", proper like uni style rowers, the big tall machines that you get. The people I've spoken to who've done these ocean crossings by rowing boat, they've all said it's not a physical thing. That's the big thing that they've realized. It's mental. It's like there's not really the physical side to it, as in rowing. It's the mental challenge that was way harder than they'd ever anticipated. Did you find that in the UK route, the UK row?
Yeah, for me, like round Britain was exactly that. It's sort of much rougher, and there's like conditions coming in from all sides, so it's not so straightforward. Like the Atlantic's bigger and scarier, but it's over much quicker. We're looking at maybe 40 to 60 days across. Wow. Whereas round Britain at 175 is like nearly 6 months, and it is that thing of just being committed to it, and then being able to get up on day 10. Absolute agony, and going, okay, well, it's my shift, I've got to go, so time to leave. And like, no matter how your hands are cramping up or blisters on your ass or anything like that, it's having the ability to get up for your shift and do it. I think that's the key to it. Definitely. It certainly was around Britain. I'm kind of hoping it will be across the Atlantic as well, because from everything from the guys that have come before us, they've all said the same. It's having that mental strength to keep going. That'll see you a lot further than physical strength.
And bottom management, that's what I've been told. Keeping your bum clean of salt.
You get to know each other really well.
You must be all right talking about this. Obviously, when you're away in a rowboat, you haven't got a toilet or anything, do you? There's no toilet. Can you describe your rowing boat? So this boat that you're going to take across the Atlantic, what does it look like?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a normal rowing boat, just sort of supersized. So the deck where you actually row is same. You've got a sliding seat, you've got a foot plate for your feet to go in. But at either end, you've got sort of a lid on top, so it's basically a cabin on either end. Only one of them you can sleep in, the other one's just for storage. And so at the sleeping end, you climb in and then your feet extend underneath so that you can lie down flat, and it's completely watertight, and it's probably about a 1 or 2 man tent size, I would say.
I measured it weirdly, and it's the same volume as a telephone box. So a little live pod on one end is the size of a telephone box.
For two of you.
For two of us, yeah. But like when we're rowing together, like we'll be rowing together during the day, like hours quite a lot, and then rotating at night, like 3 hours on, 3 hours off. So hopefully, unless there's like a mega storm, we'll only be one person in there at a time, because she's like a bedtime ninja and will take over.
Bit of starfish.
Yeah.
And then the deck is it's essentially completely hollow, so you just pack it full of the food you need. You've got a water maker at one end and solar panels on top of both cabins, so as long as you take enough food and you got sunlight to run the water maker, you're completely self-sufficient. You can spend quite a long time on them. Yeah,
they're very cool bits of kit. Like, they're very well designed. Our one's made by a company in Essex called Rannoch Adventure, and they make various 2, 4, 6 size ones. Mine's an older version. Like, they've come on a bit since mine, but it's a neat little design, and it's kind of a flat bottom boat that will self-right if it goes over. Like the air pockets on top, bring it back up, and so you've got your survival zone at one end, and then all your food in the other. So. Yeah,
they really are not big, are they? In my little village, where I take my dog for a walk sometimes, on one of the routes, I've just seen there's a Talisker, a boat all liveried up in somebody's front garden. I was
ready to go.
Blimey, wow, it is not big. It's the first time I've seen one in the flesh. I was like, Jesus, that's going across the Atlantic. Wow.
Yeah, it's a tiddly boat for a big ocean, definitely. I've been down in Portsmouth all week at the historic dockyard showing people around the boat. And like kids have been coming on a half term, just jumping all over the boat, and they're like, my bedroom's much bigger than this. I'm like, I'll bet it is. Yeah, definitely.
So what got us onto that topic was facilities on the boat. Now, obviously there's no toilet. So there's the fabled bucket, isn't there? Everyone talks about the bucket because that is your bathroom.
Bucket and
chuck it.
Yeah. Bucket and chuck it.
It's definitely a new level to our relationship. That's sure.
We have a firm no eye contact policy on board.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that you could describe me as poop shy. Like, I'll avoid public toilets if I can, just for the fear that somebody's listening. But so like using a bucket on a boat, like, it was fine on my own for 6 months, not a problem. Although it always seemed to be the minute I go, all right, there's a lovely vista here, your sun's coming up, I'm going to have a leisurely poop on deck. You'd always get fisherman coming up going, morning. You're like, oh. But the first time we had to use the bucket on the boat together was just like, relationship's never going to be the same again now, is it?
Well, if you get through that, you're going to get through anything, aren't you? Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things, though. You must have had it traveling, and I think a lot of people do. You just kind of crack on with it. It's sort of this is all you have to use. So don't make eye contact, put your headphones in, go. unless you've had a Barney, in which case you look straight in the eye, don't you?
That's exactly what I was rowing down the East Coast this summer with a mate of mine, and that was the first time, because on our training runs, I've just corked it and just been like, I'm just going to pack down the Imodium. There's no way I can survive 2-3 days, no problem. So I was rowing down the North Sea with a friend of mine called Duncan, and he's at ex-forces. And so he was wondering while I was shuffling around on deck. He said, what's the matter? And I'm like pacing back and forth. I'm going to have to use a bucket, mate. And he goes, yeah, so. And he's done loads of team rows and everything like that. So he's fine. And so, I was sort of shuffling up and down the deck. And they went, oh, it's your first group poop. And I was like, yeah, like, can you just go in the cabin and stuff? So he was like, nope, we're doing this. It was just like eyeballing me the whole time. And I was like, can you look away? He's like, no, we're doing this.
You've got a love forces mentality, haven't you? Brilliant.
Definitely. Yeah.
What does he call it? A group poo? Is that what he calls it?
Yeah, a group poop. Yeah.
That's on the trailer. Brilliant. I don't know if you guys know the format of the Brew Time podcast. Basically, I post up on the socials a couple of days beforehand just to let people know who's coming on, and then folk have the opportunity to post up and pose some questions to us to talk through. Sometimes it's got something to do with what it is you're doing, and other times it's totally random. So, are you game?
Cracking. Yeah, let's do it.
Right, let's go. Right, folks. As usual, we'll head to the clan over on Patreon first of all, which is patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one, Patrick. Andy and Rosalind, 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. It's quite the challenge. Fair play to you. I can only imagine the routine. Get up, eat, row, eat, row, eat, row, get some sleep, then do it again day after day. What are you going to do to take care of your mental health during this monumental journey? That's quite a sensible question, actually.
That's an epic question. It sounds like an ocean rower already, because he was just like, yeah, eat, sleep, row, 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 row. Yeah. Yeah, the mental health side of it is like what we were saying earlier about, the mental strength is the toughest part of it. We've been going for 2 years on this project now just to try and raise the finances to do it. And so we've spent a lot of time talking through every scenario and how we want to treat each other in certain situations, because there's going to be times, it's going to be epic, but there's other times where we're going to be utterly terrified. And there's nothing quite as scary as nature. And like when it's trying to jump up and kill you, you feel like completely vulnerable. So a lot of it is teamwork and looking after each other and being responsible for each other and to each other. And that, don't turn up late for your shift. If the other person's out on deck for 3 hours, make sure you're there bang on time to take over and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think in terms of sort of big strategies, having those conversations before we go and before we're tired and before we're scared is really important, because we do behave differently in those stressful situations. So being able to deal with or know how we want to be treated and know that that's how we've asked to be treated is really important. But in terms of sort of smaller in the moment techniques, it's really a case of, it sounds so simple, but just taking a few breaths and kind of bringing yourself back to the moment. And we always say, remember that we asked for this.
Yes.
Even when things are totally rubbish, just remember that, however stressed you are, however much you want it to end, you have asked to do this. Yeah. So be in the moment for the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And the last one is biscuits.
Yeah, loads of biscuits, loads of chocolate.
That brings us on to something then. So in terms of like actually fueling this for you, you're going to be rowing pretty much, not 24 hours a day, but pretty much non-stop for 3,000 miles. What's your calorific intake every day?
About 4,000 calories.
Okay.
About 5,000 for you?
Yeah, 5 to 6 for me, yeah.
But you are at a deficit then. It's just that you can't really pack that much more food in, or I certainly can't anyway.
Yeah, so the whole way across you're eating freeze-dried rations, which some people find disgusting, whereas I kind of like them.
Quite like it.
Yeah.
It's better than my cooking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've been eating them all week out at the dock. Yeah. So I've just been like trying all the flavors, going, oh yeah, this one's all right. And people are like, oh, he's taking it seriously. He's on dry land and just eating out of a kettle and freeze-dried rations. Yeah, I mean, I quite like them, but like each pouch is like 1,000 calories of like rehydrated posh pot noodle, and it's like Ros says, it's tough to squeeze in any more than that. Like we'll take like biltong and chocolate and nuts and stuff to sort of supplement, but yeah, you most people go and lose like 12 to 15 kilos across the ocean, and like Ros says, you're in deficit every day because you're just working so hard.
Best diet plan in the world, if anyone is interested.
It's quite a not only extreme diet, it's a bloody expensive diet, isn't it? Like
it really is.
I know the Talisker one, is that about 160 grand or something that you have to raise? Is yours similar for that then, I'm assuming?
No, well, a big cost of the Talisker is the entrance fee, and most people are going from absolute nothing to zero to hero. And again, that's what the Talisker is amazing for. They'll take people that have never, been down to the beach, and they'll qualify them and train them, and their safety record's impeccable. But it is really expensive. And like I think ocean rowing's always been very expensive since the 60s, when really the first sort of modern era row happened. But for us, like we don't come from that background. We're not, we're not well funded, and we want to try and keep the sport accessible for people like us. So we're going into our state schools and talking to the kids that are there now and saying, you know, get on it. You can try and make it happen, but it is a struggle. It's a real struggle to get to the start line, and the cost of the food is one of them. It's like, you know, thousands of pounds of freeze-dried rations that you're cramming into the boat, and you've got to find the money for that.
So are you still looking for sponsorship, both in terms of, I know you're doing it for two charities, RNLI, and is it the Blue Marine Foundation? Is that right?
Yeah.
We can chat about them in a second, but I take it if somebody wants to not just support those charities, but if they wanted to support you guys, are you accepting like donations from people in terms of that?
We are, yeah. We've got loads of ways to do it. We're kind of selling raffle tickets when we can. We're down at supermarkets shaking the bucket, and we're trying to get companies to sponsor as well. So we're still about $8,000 short of the money that we need to go. Like we started off by putting sort of 10 grand of our savings in ourselves, and then the rest we needed to raise from company sponsors and things. So we've got like a little 100 club of like 100 smaller businesses to donate 100 quid, which is sort of more manageable and more personable, because like we've had a face-to-face conversation with most of the businesses that have donated money, so they care about us getting over. So I think sort of quite often, you know, I don't know if anyone from Goldman Sachs is listening, and if they are, then please, you know, get in touch. But like the marketing department there doesn't much care about what we're doing, and whereas the guys that are supporting us really, really care about not just us making it, but our safety, and they want us to do well. So like we're still doing that, and we've got 10 weeks to raise $8,000, and which is a little bit frightening, but we've kind of bodged our way through this far, and we reckon we'll bodge our way through the last 10 weeks, and hopefully I
was just thinking, you know, like for my trip, what I did is I offered people. It was just an idea I got from people I knew racing in the TT, the Isle of Man TT. And they had a thing where you could get your name on the fairing of the bike for 100 quid, you know, and they just go, that just do that, try it. And I thought, well, I'll try it and see. So I whacked it up, and it did really well. I think I got like 30, 40 people paid the 100 quid to put their name on the fairings. And then I did the same for companies. I think it was 200 quid, and a company could get their logo on. And it helped, you know, everything does help for sure. But then what I found for me, which obviously I appreciate you guys can't do, was that I was sort of halfway round. I was almost down into Australia, and I was pretty much running out of money. So I just sort of said on my socials, just to give you the heads up, when I get to Oz, when I get to Sydney, that'll be me. I'll be heading back, end of the line. That's me done. And people were just like, no, you can't stop now. You got to keep going. You got to get all the way around. Yeah. So for me, it was like, well, I'm planning on doing a book and a DVD. So you can pre-order that now if you want. And you know, that will let me finish the trip, and then I'll just have to get back to work when I'm home, and you know, pay for the printing and everything. So I did that, and that literally in the space of about 3 days, that raised me not far off of 10 grand. I think it was about 8.5 grand, 9 grand. Wow. It was incredible. But obviously, you guys can't do that because you're going to be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So you know,
it's the weird thing about, or it's what's difficult about ocean rowing is that, whilst it's an adventure and we want to do it because of the adventure, the amount of planning, you have to go out with every single thing lined up. Like you have to have spares for everything. You have to have the money. You have to have all the training. So it's almost 2 years of spending all your time on the laptop for 2 months actually having adventure. So it's quite a weird one. I think certainly afterwards we want to do something a little more spontaneous.
The next project is going to be like 40 days of planning for 2 years away or something like that. Just flip it over.
I got you. I was like, I was like 3 years. I gave myself, you don't need it, but I gave myself 3 years. And I look back now and think, do you know what? If I was of the mindset to go again, like as in, right, I'm doing this, not, I'd love to do it, but right, it's happening. I would literally wake up tomorrow, passport, credit card, head to like Folkestone, get the tunnel and go. That would be me. That would be the extent of my planning, I think, if I ever was to do something like that again. But you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? When it's your first big adventure like that, you want to plan, you want to make sure you've ticked everything off and you're catering for every eventuality. So bringing that back then, so there still is plenty of room if people want to get behind you and support not only the charities, but also you guys yourselves on the trip. And where would they go to do that?
So all the information is on our website at atlanticescapade.com. And we have a GoFundMe on there for the 100 Club. And so the 100 Club does get your logo on the side of the boat. So
cool.
We'll take it to Barbados with us if anyone's interested.
Yeah.
And then
we give like little monthly giveaways and things like that for all the gang that are kind of backing us. We like a lot of companies like Overboard and companies like that have sort of given away bags for us and stuff. So we can chuck stuff out each month to thank everyone that's chucked in some cash.
And then
brilliant.
If anyone works for a company, we have sort of the bigger, more corporate sponsorship availability as well. So you can just get in touch on the website and we'll sort you out.
But honestly, folks, if that's something that you think either you personally or a company that you work for, a company you own, don't forget, if it's a company you own, there are tax breaks there for a charitable donation. Remember that. Head to their website. There'll be links down below. So if you listen to the podcast, check out the show notes. If you're watching the YouTube vid, make sure you head to the description there after you've liked and subscribed, obviously, and go from there. Excuse me for interrupting, folks, but it is sponsor shout out time. And this month we have a new sponsor. Welcome to Travel Escapes. Now I've got some blurb to read out. Travel and Escape is an independent travel agent. They are ABTA and ATOL protected for your peace of mind. For hassle-free, tailor-made holidays, from staycations, day experiences, cruises, luxury holidays, and so much more. You can find them all on the socials or book directly online using the link. Now, folks, I'll leave all their socials and the website link down below. Make sure you check that out. If you're watching a video, have a look at the vid description. If you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. There will be hyperlinks there. Make sure you give them a click, a follow, a like. And if you're looking for a little break for you and the loved one, you and the family, you and whoever, maybe just you yourself, make sure you check out Travel and Escape. We are also sponsored by Innov. Now, Innov have been a long-term sponsor for the main channel over on TeapotOne, but they're also helping out and sponsoring the podcast. So a massive thanks to them. Innov specialise in motorcycle dash cam systems. They do the front and rear dual camera K series. That's the K3 and the flagship K5. K3 is 1080 front and rear. K5 is 4K at the front, 1080 at the rear. The K5 also has much faster Wi-Fi. So both the K3 and K5 utilize a mobile app where you can view your footage, you can change settings, you can share on socials, you can have a look at your GPS overlay, all this sort of stuff. Both do the job if you just simply want a dash cam. If you ever get involved in an accident, the first thing your insurance is going to ask is there any CCTV? And obviously, if you have one of these systems fitted, then you can turn around and go, yes, I do. And if you head to innov.co.uk and use the code TEAPOT, you'll get 5% off of all Innov and Technologic cameras. So a massive thanks to Innov. And lastly for this one, we're also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. Now, Ultimate Add-ons, they make dustproof and shockproof mobile phone cases and action camera mounts. They will fit just about every single bike out there. Me personally, I always use the Helix strap mount because it means I can easily attach that to just about any bike that I'm riding at that time. I can jump on and off bikes and just easily unscrew the strap, whack it on the next bike, tighten it all up, and off I go. It's very versatile. I've had no vibration issues affecting my camera using the Helix strap. That's the one that I will stand by and swear by. Been using it about 5 years now. So again, if you head to Ultimate Add-ons, that's Ultimate with ADDONS, ultimateaddons.com. If you use the code TEAPOT110, so TEAPOTONE with the number 10, you'll get 10% off all Ultimate Add-ons. Okay, that'll do us for now. Let's get back to the podcast. Right, excellent. Okay, well, hopefully we'll be able to help you out with that then, because it's incredible. The generosity of people is just phenomenal. It still to this day blows me away when people are just incredibly generous at times, aren't they?
I really think so. And it's something that, sometimes we get a little bit down that it is such of a struggle, but then you just meet people who at this, we've had a pandemic and now we're in a cost of living crisis and people are still there to support you. And I always think it's or we found that it's often the people who aren't, billionaires who are really just invested and really want you to succeed. So it is hard, but I think it's a really nice way to fundraise is the kind of smaller, more personable donations, because like Andy says, we know pretty much everyone who's donated. We've met them at an event or a car park or something. So yeah, I think we are very much humbled when people donate to us. It's a really nice feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it is that thing, isn't it? Like we don't deserve the money any more than anyone else. And it's just like that thing. It's like we've gone as far as we can go ourselves. And for someone just to turn around and go, "Oh, chuck you a tenner, there you go." Like, that they've worked for that money. And it's sort of, it's pretty cool that people will back you. And it's nice to do things that people want to get behind and back. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I have, obviously we're answering Patreon questions at the moment. I have Patreon, and I call my little sort of community on Patreon the clan. And I've had that running for 2 years now since I left the old Bill. And I couldn't do this full time without them. They make up well over half my wage. And that is just people out of the kindness of their heart paying, anywhere from a quid to, I've got someone that pays £250 a month. Would you believe it or not?
Wow.
I mean, and I know that person, and I'm just like, what are you doing? That's insane. But it's incredible that like the generosity from people still to this day blows me away. So thank you, and to everybody out there. Right, next one, Pete English. All right, Pete's a bit of a legend in the clan. Let's see what his question says here. Hi guys, hope you're both fitting well. My question, out of all the normal negative emotions the human has, greed, anger, jealousy, and hate, which one would you say affects you the most? Ooh. Keep up the great work and live your life. He always poses good questions, this Pete.
Yes, yeah.
So...
does it have to be one of those four? Greed, anger, jealousy, or hate?
I would say no. If you can think of another one that you regard as negative, then yeah, feel free.
I'm plagued with self-doubt.
Yeah,
massively. And probably a slightly negative disposition. I'm a glass half empty kind of guy.
Are you?
Sometimes it serves me well, and other times, I battle against it quite a lot, but like I've had trouble with depression in the past, and definitely like it is something I struggle with, and yeah, definitely I can admit I'm a glass half empty person. I think sometimes the benefit of doing trips like this is actually it sort of gives you a shake up a little bit, and you go, come on, like pull yourself together. Like there's worse things out there, and there's people having a tougher time than you are, and so. But yeah, self-doubt is probably my biggest thing. Like when we see other people doing really well and like get their teams and their stuff together for the Talisker race and things like that. Yeah. And like, and like you said, like the amount of money they have to raise to do it. We're trying to raise a fraction of that. And we're like, why does no one like us? Why has no one helped us? It's that sort of thing. And almost like, well, I'm not as big as that guy, so we're not going to be able to do it. And like, this isn't for us. So yeah, like, I don't know. Luckily, I got Rosalind to just give me a boot up the arse. So
I'm a bit more of an optimist.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it would probably be anxiety. I've struggled with anxiety a bit in the past and used to get quite a lot of panic attacks. Also, I suppose a self-doubt kind of disposition, but yeah, and I think that's what I'm sort of worried about on the boat is that. For me, the actual rowing bit is fine because you've got, however painful it is, what you're doing for the next 2 hours, 8 hours, whatever. But once you get off that and everything's just uncomfortable and you're sort of, you're too hot, it's too stuffy in the cabin and you're not clean, I think the sort of anxiety could rise and obviously having a panic attack in the middle of the ocean is not ideal because it really takes it out of you. But yeah, so I'd say probably that one. Do you think?
It's that first week, isn't it? That's what I've heard. The first week getting away from the Canary Islands is pretty much the toughest. It's the hardest to get away from because obviously the water's a lot shallower, isn't it? So it's much more affected by tides, the weather, everything like that. And then once you're out over the ocean, so they say, it gets a little bit easier.
Yeah, it is that. Yeah, like definitely from everything that people have told me, it's exactly as you said, like around the coastline, it's tougher conditions and you've got winds that are affecting the boat. You're also seasick that first week anyway.
Yes,
so you're feeling rotten and yakking up over the side and trying to get out there. And then on top of that, the moment you kind of lose sight of shore, is I remember when it happened to me, like the first time I like look out on the horizon, there's just nothing there, and you're like, oh, which way am I pointing? And you check the compass and you're like, okay, well, here we go. Now we're doing this. And so I think surviving that first week is probably the toughest bit. I think if you're going to drop out, it's going to be then, and then. The deeper you get into it, the I guess the less scared of the conditions you are each day, and then you hit a point of no return where actually it's quicker to finish than it is to try and turn around.
Yeah. Have you been following? Every time I talk about him, I forget his surname. Damien, the big Irish.
Damien Brown.
Yes.
Damien Brown. Oh God, I would love to get Damien on here for a chat. That guy,
that's a legend.
I mean, he is. Never mind. I mean, the guy's an ex-Irish rugby player, isn't he? So he's a big old lump, but he has mental strength that I don't think can be paralleled by many people on this planet.
Absolutely.
He's just, folks, if you're not aware of this chap, he's just finished rowing from basically New York, Manhattan, back to Galway. And he was supposed to be doing it with another chap, with his mate, another rugby player, but his mate developed some sort of health issue very early on, so had to get Kazivaked off of the boat. That gives you some idea, because he was still close enough that I think to be heli-vacked off, wasn't he? So Damien has not only rowed single-handedly back across the Atlantic Ocean, he's gone the other way, hasn't he? Everyone normally goes east to west because of the trade winds, and he's just done west to east, hasn't he?
Yeah, he did like New York to Ireland. So that sort of North Atlantic route coming back over there, that's the tough one. Like the weather is savage and it is a rough row. Yeah. We actually, weirdly, we spoke to Gussie, his teammate, a couple of weeks ago, and he's fully recovered now. He's well and he's safe on dry land. But yeah, I think he was gutted to have to be taken off, but like his health was that serious risk. So like Damien having that mental strength. Imagine the first day alone when your mates, like you're worried about your mate and you're sitting there on the boat and you're suddenly alone. And then just to have the strength to just carry it on for a long time after. He's just like digging on, and he had a proper rough crossing.
And the North Atlantic gets some proper weather. So many low pressure systems, and he was in some not very nice stuff.
I don't know the full story. I'd love to talk to him about it, but like when he landed, he was like getting blown off Galway where he was sort of expecting to land. That's right. I think like his attitude was pretty much like he was stuck out there for a couple of days, and he's like, stuff this, and he just rammed it into rocks and hopped off. He's like,
I'm done now. This'll do.
Yeah,
he's super cool.
But I think when you've achieved that, like, you absolutely you can. You're just like, I'm done. Off I get. That's me finished.
Because I think it was last year or the year before. He rode solo in the Talisker, didn't he? So he's already done it once, and he destroyed his arse, didn't he? He really suffered with the salt blisters and salt wounds and everything off there. So,
I've seen some horror show photos from
you see some fun photos.
If you've ever seen a kid with chicken pox, that just doesn't even start.
And there's no getting away from it on a rowing boat, is there? Because you're on your arse for 2/3 of the day. Wow. So this is interesting from the two of you then. Self-doubt and anxiety I can't even say it. They're the two things that you think could probably affect you the most out of this trip. That's phenomenal that even though you're aware of that, you're still going for this. So is this like a big personal challenge then for you? As in, I'm aware of what might be affecting me or what will affect me as I go, but I'm going to beat that. Let's go. So you can tick it off and go, yes, it's done.
Yeah, it's a 3-month therapy session.
Yes,
That's what it is. It is, it's a part of like knowing that that's not necessarily a personality flaw, but that is a part of my personality. And so it's not drumming it out of me, but like challenging it, taking it face on, and for a lot of my life, I'd shy away from it and hide from it and suffer as a consequence. But yeah, I think if you can try and face it head on, then you can, and that's kind of definitely another motivation for the row.
And I think also it's almost the beauty of doing trips like this, whether it's traveling overland, on the water, whatever. It's putting yourself in a situation where you just have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I think often, like I said earlier, it's more the everyday things that personally I struggle with. And so almost the simplicity of the ocean rowing boat is all you have to do is manage to feed yourself, row and sleep. That is it. And so even if you're feeling all these emotions, just you have one task at hand, and it is just so simple. So at least for me, I don't know, it's quite therapeutic, just the monotony of it.
Yeah, it's a nice way of life, isn't it? It's kind of like doing simple things, maybe not being at sea, but like it's that simplicity of camping, of traveling, of doing a challenge like this. It is that simplicity of like, right, task at hand, got that, and then eat and sleep and done. It's a nice way of getting up in the morning. Some of those everyday stresses like just wash away.
Yeah, I that's my attitude to like overland travel on a bike. You know, when people go, oh, I would love to do what you did, but I don't think I'd be capable of it. That's just such an amazing achievement and stuff. And I don't want to play down what I did and what other people have done when they've done trips like that. But to me, it was just like, it's easy. You're just getting on a bike and riding a bike. You know, it's just, you just deal with whatever comes your way. And I took the mindset very much of what you were saying earlier there, Rosalind, that all life's strains that you have to deal with day to day when you're here, you don't need to worry about out there, because you're just constant. For me, it was like, where am I going? Where am I going to get fuel? Where am I going to get food? Where do you go to the bathroom? All this sort of stuff. You know, it's just life in almost its most simplest forms. So you didn't need to worry about any of that. And then the shock for me was coming back to the real life and going, oh, shit, I've got bills to pay. Well, you know, right, we've got to get back to normal life here.
Yeah. I had the same thing after Britain. Like I was rowing back up the Thames and I'd gone like, you know, you could go 10, 11 days without seeing a soul or speaking to anyone. And then 6 months of that, and I'm rowing back up the Thames in November, and London is noisy and busy and
it was
crowded.
Fireworks, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fireworks weekend. So I was like, I pretended it was all there for me and celebrating. And I was like, oh, thanks, guys. But the only thing I wanted to do was turn the boat around and row it back out the Thames.
Yeah.
I was terrified of who would be waiting for me when I got to land, or like just the crowd of people. It was suddenly, really, really intimidating. So it's a weird thing, weird feeling.
Wow. That was a good question, that, Pete. Thank you very much for that. Next one, Patrick Collum. Hope the trip goes well. My question, is there any trip other than by rowing that really excites you? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Here we go.
Yeah. Well,
go on then.
Well, after I'd finished around Britain, I was sick of the boat. I didn't want to see it ever again before I met Ros. And I'd bought myself an old Honda Dominator, and I was going to do what you did and ride it around the world. And,
really?
It's currently still sat in the garage, just there, just waiting. But maybe we'll go twos up or get a sidecar like Matt.
No. I'll cycle. He can go on a motorbike.
You're going to cycle?
Wow. I'd like to. I think, weirdly, my mum is okay with me rowing an ocean, but the thought of me going on a motorbike terrifies her.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. No, we certainly want to do some overland afterwards. Meeting so many people over the last 2 years who have done some absolutely incredible sort of trips, like yourself. Everyone at the Armchair Festival is amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it, when you go to those events and you're just like, oh my God, you've done what?
Everyone that goes there could have written a book.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like just the people turning up and going, let alone the speakers, that like everyone's gone and had a trip of their own or done something or has a trip planned.
Yeah.
And so overlanding, definitely.
And it is kind of the truth is with ocean rowing, a bit different with Round Britain, but for the Atlantic, once you've left shore, you don't see anything until you get to shore, right? Okay, so you see the sea in different conditions, the weather, maybe some wildlife, hopefully, probably a lot of plastic, but you don't get the human element or anything like that. And so, yeah, we definitely want to do some overland afterwards. Definitely.
I tell you what surprised me when I was traveling was the people that I met who were doing incredible adventures. Some people have been on the road for decades, and they were making no fuss about it. They had no website, they had no social media, they weren't raising money for anybody, they weren't doing it. They were just out there. And like I met a guy who was walking he's raising money. He was walking for peace, but he'd been on the road for like 15 years, just walking the planet. And I've talked about him loads on this podcast. He looked like, in Life of Brian, when they meet the guy who's in a hole in the ground and he's taken a vow of silence. And then I think they stood on his foot and he was Jehovah. This chap was the spitting image of him. He was long grey hair. He was wearing like a linen gown. He was pulling a trolley behind him with a big placard. Like 15, 20 years he'd been on the road for. And he had no money. He lived off of whatever people gave him when he was out walking. Wow. If no one gave him any food, he didn't eat. And it was just simple as that. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. I met people that were cycling, unicycling like down through the Americas. And this young lad didn't even have social media. He was doing nothing. Just did it because he wanted to do it.
It's such a nice way of traveling as well. Because I think sometimes you can get a bit tied up into all the social media stuff. And it's kind of like for us, we've got loads of supporters. So we want to feed back and keep everyone up to date with what we're going. And there is a sort of slightly, I don't know, for want of a better word, a slightly business element to ocean rowing. It's an expensive thing to undertake, and so you have to like give back and support like both ways. People want content.
Get that.
But that kind of idea of just going and not picking your phone up for months on end or anything like that, and just not having any of that it'd be lush. I'd love that.
I really understand that. I totally get it, but maybe it's because I've done it for so long now, but I actually really enjoy capturing stuff, and then I enjoy creating, like the editing, creating a video that you can then share that with people, because what I've found is that the feedback, you get feedback ranging from that shit right through to people like will privately message you and go, I'm near the end of my life. I've always wanted to do what you've done. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, because it's something that's the only way I'm going to experience it. You get the two polar extreme ends of the spectrum, and obviously the negative ones niggle away at you, but they're like one in 100, 1 in 1,000. But they're the ones that you go, yeah. But it's those really amazing, humbling messages you get from people that you just go, okay, right, that actually makes a difference to somebody's life. So
that is epic.
Let's film it. Let's do something with it. But I totally get it when I've spoken to other people who've done a trip that they've documented, and then they've done another trip where they've done nothing and they've just enjoyed it. And I get that. I do get that. But I think for me personally, I'd be like, I feel like I've left something at home if I didn't do the whole. I think
it's just balancing it. Like some people enjoy storytelling, right?
Yeah.
It's, for some people it is part of it, whether that's taking photos, blogs, making videos. I think it's just not putting too much pressure on yourself that, I have to do, a blog to 10,000 people by the end of December or whatever. It's sort of enjoy the process of the storytelling as much as you enjoy the process of the traveling.
Yeah. And it generates ideas, doesn't it? Like, you again go to the festivals and things and just hear people's stories and what they've done. You're like, that's a great idea. Like maybe I'll take a bit of this and a bit of that. And
the truth is, we'd never have got into ocean rowing if it wasn't for other people having shared their story. Yeah. And a lot of the same with people who cycle or motorbike. You don't know it's a thing until someone tells you. So I think it's getting the right balance.
Definitely. And it is such an amazing feeling to have someone come up to you at one of these events when you go there and go, like they shake your hand and they go, it's because of you that I've chosen to do X. And you're just like, oh my God, that's insane. That's incredible. Because as you just said, there's people I watched at hub events. There's Ewan McGregor, Charlie Borman I watched a long way round that initially lit the fire for me, So it's nice just to pass it on, isn't it? Somewhere along the line. Speaking of which, are you going to document this trip then when you're away actually rowing?
We'll take cameras and we'll film what we're up to. Haven't really considered that we would... post it or make a film or anything like that, because it's kind of like once you've seen that 3 times, you've seen it 100 times. But it's it's the human experience. It's the effect it has on you as people.
Yeah,
that's what
I think. So we're certainly going to take sort of cameras to post as we go. Mm-hmm. So we'll be sending videos back via the satellites so that you can track us as we go.
And I'll film every row.
Yeah, you can miss out the bucket. All right.
Yeah. But
you should stare into the bucket and film it. Sorry, stare into the camera when you're in the bucket. Send it to your mate.
Yeah, we did have this thing that we started doing where we had to take photos of us rowing.
I can't believe you're telling us.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. We're getting personal now, Bruce.
I like
it. Where we have a game where we've had photos of each other like rowing on our training runs and stuff like that, and we crop out our faces and we're like, can you guess if this photo was rowing or pooping? Because like the strain on our faces when we're rowing is like we're like contorted and pulling like odd faces. We're like rowing or pooping.
Is this something that people in the 100 Club get to experience?
They will do during the row.
Yeah, we're gonna. Once we've got up to like sort of a grid of 60 photos or something, we'll send them out. And it might not be public knowledge, just for the 100 Clubbers, because I'm not sure how the sponsors might feel about it.
Love it. Okay, cheers for that, Patrick. Next one, Mark Kent. That's Mark Kent. It's the chap that sent me the beers. Cheers, Mark. Good evening, all. Bruce, I hope you enjoy the beers. Yes, mate. It's going down lovely. Thank you. Andy and Rosalind, my question for you: with space being so tight, what would you say is the one thing that you couldn't be without on this journey, but isn't actually needed?
Ooh,
so a luxury.
That's really good. For me, it's music. Like music and headphones, like it just sort of takes you out of the pain when you're in pain, and actually again when you're terrified. When I was rowing over the top of Scotland from Cape Wrath to John O'Groats, absolutely terrifying, and all I did was stick my headphones in, and I'd had just music on the speaker the whole way around the rest of the coast. There's something happened when I hit Cape Wrath where I was just like, just stick it in your ears and close yourself off, hood up. Don't look outside, just get going. And yeah, so for me, like music, and obviously like that you need to keep that charged up. And so it's kind of a waste of batteries, and it's all coming off the same system that runs the water maker and the navigation and everything like that. But I just couldn't do without it, without the motivation, without the security, without that. And like stand-up gigs as well. Like I try and download some comedy stand-up, because again, it's just like having someone chatting to you and telling jokes. Yeah.
For me, it's probably party rings.
Party rings? What's
party
that?
Rings. Like the little biscuits.
Oh, right.
With the holes in the middle.
And the icing and stuff on the top.
Exactly.
I got you.
Yeah.
Anything that makes you feel like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, pretty much. I found that because it is essentially so boring, food is kind of your interest every day. It's the one thing that changes, right? And having a little party ring absolutely cheers you up no end.
So are you rationing one a day or one every couple of days? Or
no?
Oh no, we're having a pack a day, Bruce. Yeah. A pack a day.
A pack? Bloody hell.
Like not the whole tray, just like a
kid's bag,
kid's bag one,
kid's pie bag type.
Are you making little bags of food that I've seen other people do that with like trail mix and just loads of calorific stuff.
All of that.
See, I'd love all that. It's just the actual rowing bit that would get me.
I mean, like Christmas is guilt-free this year. We can eat anything we want, just stuff our faces until we go. Yeah, definitely.
What's the actual date that you leave? You head off?
It's a little bit variable because we're not going as part of the race. We kind of have the flexibility to go when the weather is best. Gotcha. But we're aiming for the last week of January, but it might be a couple of weeks afterwards before. Yeah. But around January.
Right. And I take it do you have a team here on land that's going to be looking at weather and plotting routes and stuff for you?
Yeah, luckily, like from my Round Britain row, like I met loads of guys that are so much more experienced than me, and they're like some of the best out there. Like Angus Collins is going to do our weather routing, and he's just a legend in the sport. He's done the Atlantic and the Pacific, and he's got records on all those rows. So he's going to be on the end of the satellite phone, giving me all the weather information and helping us out with routing. And like throughout our training, Duncan Roy, who trains half of the Talisker teams. He's record holder for the Pacific and all of that. And so, he's been like, have you thought about this? Have you done that? And like, how's your boat set up and everything like that? So we're like really well supported with the crew on land. But it's sort of, when you say it's a, unsupported row, just the two of us, it's just us out there. But like the build up to it is a huge team effort, and the guys backing you up at home. They're there on the end of the phone every time you're a little bit terrified. I'm going the wrong way.
Have you found that because you're not doing it as part of Talisker, have you found that the ocean rowing sort of community almost give you a bit more cute? I don't want to belittle what Talisker do, because it is fantastic, and it does allow not anyone, but anyone who has the financial means and the mental aptitude to do it. It gives you a vehicle to do that, doesn't it? But for you guys, obviously, you're out with that safety bubble. So do you find that the community itself is treating you any differently?
I think it really depends who. There's so much crossover between the Talisker and the independents anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the crews in the Talisker and even the guys that organise it, they sort of give us a slightly wide berth. But the crews are super cool. They sort of understand the same thing, that like once you're there, once you're rowing across the ocean, you still got to put the same effort in. You still got to row across the ocean yourself, no matter how you got to the start line. But like I was saying, there is definitely a certain element of independent guys that are just like, well done you, like on your own, like get out there. So I think the crews that have gone independently in the past give you a little extra time and a little extra, little encouragement. So there's like a little clan of rogues out there that go independently.
And it's also, there are some people within sort of the community and the sport who are just so generous with their time. I'd say there's a company called Monkey Fist as well, who are running another Atlantic crossing, so called the Atlantic Dash, which is starting in January. And Billy from there is sort of just is always there to answer whatever questions, what if you're doing the race, if you're independent, and I think sort of other people as well, Angus, that we said, Duncan, Dawn Wood, who does a lot of coaching for like first aid and things like that. A lot of people of those figures really just want you to get across, and they're really supportive. So I think whether you're doing the Talisker or not, they're really happy to answer questions. So it is really cool to have those people to share their experience. Yeah,
there's definitely people out there that have done it before and happy to give you their time to help you out across. And they kind of know what you're up against when you're on your own. So they're just like, okay, well, this is what you need to do, and this is how you're going to get it done.
Awesome.
So
awesome. Billy, he seems a real. I followed his trip over last year. Was it last year? Year before?
Yeah, across the Atlantic.
Yeah. They did a four, didn't they? It was a foursome that they went across. Oh my God, I've forgotten. Dirty Sanchez, the guy from Dirty Sanchez.
Matthew Pritchard.
Yeah. I've had him on the Pat, I'm so sorry. He's been on the podcast and we had a big long chat about all this. Yeah, I would love to get Billy on the chat. He's done like the Indian Ocean. He's done the Pacific as well, hasn't he? Is that right?
I think so.
The Pacific?
Yeah, I know he's definitely done the Indian. I don't know.
He's been around quite a long time as well. He's done a lot of stuff.
I think he's is he an ex-fireman? Is that right?
I don't know.
Or was it, maybe it was one of the other chaps in the four who was an ex-fireman. Maybe that's what it was. But either way, he strikes me as a really top guy. They did like a podcast, didn't they? I think they had a weekly podcast with Monkey Fist that they did, and I think they're doing it again this year. Really interesting to follow. Really interesting.
Yeah, it's great. They do get a lot of content out. They do really well. Yeah, it looks like they have fun as well doing it. Like some of the teams you see just don't like this seem like they're taking it too seriously, and it's like, guys, don't forget to have fun when you're out there, because like people get to the other end and you're like, how was that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I just had my head down the whole way and just did my shift and then went to sleep. And it's like, did you enjoy like the horizon or the middle of the ocean or the sun coming up or a moonrise? And they're like, I don't know.
That's the thing though, isn't it? Because eventually you will be back to the modernity of just boring everyday life at some point, won't you? And it's like, enjoy no matter how hard this is going to be mentally, physically and everything. Enjoy whenever you can enjoy it, because real life will be there eventually waiting for you, won't it?
Yeah, it's like Ross said, it's like we asked for this, so enjoy every moment. Like no matter how miserable it is, like enjoy it. Like be grateful for it.
I remember on my trip there was days when, sometimes you just wake up and you've got a cob on, haven't you? You just wake up and you're just not in a good mood. And I had to do that. I had to sort of get hold of myself sometimes and just go, you're riding around the world, you an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like you could be at home at work. Remember that. There's people actually doing hard work at the moment. You're just sat on a motorbike and you're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Okay then. Crack on.
Yeah, worth reminding yourselves every now and then. But it's like you say, but again, that's also the reality of travel and stuff, isn't it? Like not every day is going to be brilliant, and not every day has to be an Instagram day. It's like some days you can tough it out, and you're having a rough time, and that's part of it. And it's a nice thing just to sort of also let people know that the reality of what it's like every day.
C'est la vie, man, isn't it? Such is life. That is life, isn't it? Not every day is an Instagram day. Fantastic. That's a great way to look at it. Me again, folks, just a short one this. We are also sponsored this month by the Influencer Store. If you go to TeapotOne.com, you'll go to the shop, check out any of the merchandise that I have available. That is all handled by the Influencer Store right here in the UK. I've got a quick bit of blurb to read out for them, and that is, the Influencer Store helps you build your brand big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design. And there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Make sure you check them out, folks. Head to TeapotOne.com, head to the shop, and you'll be supporting both the TeapotOne channel and the podcast right here if you buy anything from the merchandise. So a massive thanks in advance to you, and a huge thanks to the Influencer Store. And lastly, folks, I just want to say a massive thank you to you. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast, for watching the vids, for commenting, for liking, for sharing, for following and subscribing. It all is a massive, massive help. We're on a bit of an upturn at the moment. The podcast is gathering momentum. The channel is certainly doing really well. So a huge thanks to everybody who's been involved with that. If you want to go that extra mile, then you can always buy some merch over at TeapotOne.com. Or if you really want to get committed, you can join the clan over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. All links for everything are down below, folks. I appreciate any support in any form you can give. All right, then. That's enough with the beg and bowl. Let's get back to the podcast. Mark Scott, Bruce, my question for you. Didn't you say you'd love to do something like this? When do you think you could make that dream a reality? I did, actually, a couple of years ago. I still would. I remember after following, I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I really followed the Talisker Challenge on Instagram. And it started, there was embers, the same sort of embers I had for the bike ride around the world. They started rearing their head, and I was like, oh, all right, okay. Is this on my horizon? Is this something I'm going to have to do? And then I looked into it and saw how much it cost for Talisker, and it was like, yeah, that's not going to happen for a long time yet.
Yeah. Do you want to buy a boat?
Do you know, I am going to say this. I'm not saying it won't happen.
Oh, it's going to happen, Bruce. I can look at your eyes.
I would love to do it. I genuinely would love to do it. I have a massive phobia about sharks because of Jaws, right? And I love being in the sea. I don't like being on it. Like the thought of treading water in the ocean scares the shit out of me. Just because as soon as I look at the sea, all I hear is right? So the thought of getting in to scrape the bottom of the boat, I'm just like, no, God, no. But you got to do it, haven't you? It is something I would like to do, but it's not something I have to do yet.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure.
We'll take you out on the boat next year or something.
Yes. Do you know what? I would love to. I would love to do something like that. That would be mega.
Yeah, when we're back, totally. Let's do it. We'll set a day and we'll take you out on the boat and you can have a crack at it and see if that.
Oh Jesus, no! I just felt something there. That's one step closer, isn't it? Oh no! I've already said on this podcast that I'm cycling around the UK, so that has to happen. I've put it out there. That is happening. I'm not sure if I'm doing it next year or it'll be the year after, but I am going to do it. So there you go. That is happening for sure. The rowing one, I don't know yet. We'll see. But I would love to do it. I just don't need to do it yet. We'll leave it at that. Tony Hannum, Andy and Rosalind, my hat goes off to you guys. My question for both of you is what was the darkest time in your trip? I think you got that wrong, Tony. They haven't done it yet, mate. They're heading off in January. Bruce, have you made any plans regarding your rowing around the UK? I wasn't rowing around, I'm cycling around the UK, Tony. Not really. I started chatting with Mrs. Teapot about it, so she hasn't said no yet. So it's a question of fitting it around my job, effectively, YouTube, and the tours, and fitting it around sort of looking after the dog, believe it or not. So one of us has to be at home to look after the dog. So it's just logistics at the moment, Tony, but we are getting there.
How big's the dog? Could you...
no, she's big. She's
too big for a bike.
You could, but she'd be a nightmare. She's like 34 kilograms of muscle and thick as mince. So she'd be a handful. She'd be a real handful. Right. Okay. Yeah. Next one, Chris Kemp. Hi all. Hope you're good. I'm assuming this far into the podcast, the beverages are flowing. So a simple one for you. If we evolved from apes, why do they still exist alongside us? I told you sometimes they could be a bit obscure. Right. Okay. What are your feelings on this then?
If we evolved from apes,
yeah,
then why are they still here?
Yeah.
Ros is a scientist, so
this way to dip me in it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Over to you.
Well, I have no idea. I would say because there were different sets of circumstances, right?
Mm.
I don't think we evolved directly from apes. I think we have a common descendant.
Oh, did we not? I thought we did. I thought we evolved from a type of ape.
But I believe like modern apes have also evolved from that.
Okay, so we've all gone down different paths. And one of the paths has led to Homo sapiens, and others has led to the gorilla, the chimpanzee, whatever.
I mean, don't quote me on that in a scientific journal, but yeah, let's go with that.
You're a scientist. That means, have you got an ology?
No, physics. Not
physics.
I don't do,
Well, I mean, you're pretty much on par with Stephen Hawking compared to most of us on this podcast. So you are the scientist.
Stephen Hawking, I got in so much trouble.
Oh, go on. What?
Well, no, it was just like I said, she looked like Stephen Hawking, and I got in loads of trouble.
Yeah.
Enough said about that one. Okay. I was expecting like a big, long, in-depth conversation on that one then. All right. So, yeah, it actually makes sense that you say it the way you just said it. Well, yeah, we all sort of evolved from apes, and some of us went one path and others went another.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes most sense to me.
It does. Now you've said it, it does.
Sorry.
when I read the question out, I was like, it's a good question. How come we're not all like sat in cars, driving cars and building houses? Yeah. What's going on? Right. Okay. Yeah, of course. Keep it rubber side up, Bruce, and Andy and Rosalind, keep dry or whatever the boating equivalent is. Basically wishing you the best for your trip.
Thanks, mate.
Last one of the clan questions. Andrew Gralton. Another wonderful example of individuals choosing a goal and working to make it a relativity.
reality.
A relative. Well, yeah, I think it must be reality. Yeah. My question is, what contact will you have during the crossing with the outside world? We kind of touched on that then. So, yeah, you can have a team on the mainland.
Yeah, but to be honest, it's something we've been talking about. Is that whilst we'll have, so Angus, who's our weather guy, will be basically sending us a text pretty much every day of what the weather is doing, whether it's better to go further north, further south. But whilst we have the ability to, I mean, if we wanted to, I could call my mum every single day, but we've been talking about the fact that we kind of don't want to be having that communication all the time. So we're talking at the moment about doing a kind of halfway point where people can send messages in and we read them there. But I think if we're having them all the time and just texting people, then it will almost be a little bit stressful and something that we don't need at the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, isolation is definitely part of the experience. Definitely. Mm-hmm. And so, to kind of break that just for a chit chat, I'm not sure I want it right now. Mm-hmm. And
no, I get that. I didn't realize that you'd still have like easy contact like that, in that you could just text away. I thought it was like a satellite phone when the stars aligned kind of thing.
So it is. So we have a couple of satellite phones that we can do voice calls on, but they're so advanced now that, you know, it's not going to be like being in the same room, but you can just phone people. And then the text is just a little satellite device where they basically just send an email via satellite. Wow. It's a bit more complicated to do photos and videos. You have to have a big unit that is exactly like trying to line it up to, you know, Ursa Minor and get it all sorted. But yeah, for actual just text and voice, then it's pretty fine. Yeah,
like the Iridium system's pretty much got coverage globally now, and so once you're out there, you can get it. So so you got like those emergency devices, and you can call pretty much every day, but it's battery power again, and the whole boat runs on solar, so you are dependent on having enough sun to keep the batteries topped up and keep all the essential systems going. So you're pretty frugal with everything. Like every drop of water counts, and every drop of battery power counts. So like sort of wasting all that stuff just for calls home and stuff is one of those things that if stuff goes wrong and you start to lose all your power, you're going to regret like
absolutely
beforehand. So you kind of need all that, keep everything in reserve. So.
And I get what you're saying about the isolation factor as well. And I think for me, I think I would want that as well, in that although, you have that capability to reach back to the outside world, you're kind of, it's part of the trip, isn't it? Of putting yourself out in the middle of the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, is that solitude and being isolated to that extent. Obviously, if the ship starts sinking, the boat starts sinking, yes, give me that phone. But
we've got like an EPIRB device, which is like a satellite beacon on the phone, and then PLBs, like locator beacons on a life jacket. So like they go via satellite to Falmouth Coast Guard, and they can pretty much pinpoint your location within 5 meters. So if one of those beacons goes off, like they're just like send the nearest ship. So they know if things have gone really wrong, then you can get rescued like that, and we'll just be lashed up in the life raft. But hopefully it won't come to that. And
right, wildlife. I spoke about sharks, but there seems to be an increasing frequency of like marlin attacks on boats, isn't there? Like sailfish and stuff. They're actually putting the spikes through the boats, and it seems to be happening more and more and more. What happens when if that happens?
Well,
repair it quick.
Yeah.
I'm taking bucket loads of plumber's mate and anything that's set underwater to do that. And you patch the holes. Like one guy, I think it was the year before last, got struck like 4 times by different marlin. And like his boat was starting to look like a sieve. And he had run out of repair patches and epoxy to fix them. And he ended up like drilling his chopping board through the boat and bolting it to the outside, like the final final patch to keep them going. So yeah, I mean, again, the boat designs are incredible, and like they're all compartmentalized, and so you can flood a compartment or several compartments and not have any worry about it sinking. But
gotcha.
The biggest risk is like if you're asleep in bed and it goes through the hull. Like what are you going to do then? It's pure luck that no one's been stabbed through the leg or the chest or anything like that, and then you've got a serious problem on your hands.
Yeah.
There was one, was it last year, the year before, wasn't there, where it, as you just said, it went through the boat, and if he'd been sleeping on the mat, it would have gone into him, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Like,
and
oh
so
my God.
on this first aid course we did, it's never really been a thing before, but we're now doing trauma first aid. So we're taking tourniquets and sort of packing gauze and things. But the truth is, if you get stabbed badly in the middle of the ocean, we're
pretty done for.
It's a bad time. So the rule is, if you see a marlin, everyone is out of bed on deck, because on deck you've got the 2 layers. So even if it comes through, you're not going to get, unless it's 10 meters long.
Have they got any idea why there seems to be this increase in marlin attacks?
There's a couple of theories that it seemed to start over COVID or since COVID, that either it's sort of a lack of fishing, or like there's like, different more fish in certain areas, or they're coming in. No one's quite sure if they're being territorial or if they're just hunting fish that sort of gather underneath the boat in the shade of the boat.
Gotcha. Yeah,
it could be that. Like, but yeah, no one's quite sure. But it's really only in the last few years that it's become a problem. So yeah, they're wondering if there's a link between that and like the lack of activity in COVID or what's going on. But it's one of those things. To be honest, it's like a lightning strike. Like, if it happens, you're just dead unlucky. This, I mean, it's a concern, but it's kind of maybe just don't worry about it, because like Ros says, if you see a marlin in the water, everyone out on deck. Yeah, that's the best protection. But
there's not a lot else you can do.
No, there's not, is there? Yeah. And back home, you could get run over by a bus, couldn't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
these things,
absolutely.
Shit happens in life. It's just, you roll the dice, don't you, every day? So that's interesting, that what you were just saying. I wonder if because it's particularly the Talisker is getting more and more popular, isn't it? And I wonder if like the wildlife, like the marlin, have started realizing, oh, hang on a minute, those things there mean food underneath them. I wonder if it's got to that extent where they actually recognize, that's those things there, and they've got food underneath them. Do you think that maybe has a bearing on it?
They might be learning. I'm not sure if there's enough boats going over. There's only really a dozen boats a year that kind of go, and they take such wildly different routes that once those boats have left on day 2, they never see each other again.
To be honest, I think I'd be surprised if it was a learnt behavior.
Yeah.
I think it's probably more a circumstantial change.
Well, now you say it, I like to think the marlin are out to get us.
Yeah, never mind the great whites.
Yeah,
it's the marlin.
It's the marlin you got to watch.
It's like, when you give a drink to Neptune, give a drink to marlin instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Are you superstitious?
Not in day-to-day life, but the sea makes you much more superstitious, I'd say. Do you think?
Yeah, the sea makes you crazy. I don't whistle on the boat. There's like loads of nautical superstitions and stuff like that.
Although officially taking a woman is quite bad luck.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. What is the whistle thing? I've heard of the whistle, but I never knew why. What is that about?
You blow up storms if you whistle on a boat.
Encourages the wind.
Yeah, no whistling on board and things. But there's loads of things like that. Like, I mean, you could drive yourself crazy, because there's, there's like, if you cross the equator, there's like rituals that everyone does, and like I know in Indonesia and things, like surfers aren't allowed to wear green and stuff like that. So I think it's the color of one of the ocean gods, and so you're causing offense or something if you go surfing in a green wetsuit or anything like that, or have a green board. So
you can really see how sailors of old were so superstitious, though, because it's such a weird feeling having the weather feel like it's sort of enclosing you, and having almost the water trying to attack you from below. It makes such a huge difference. Have you heard of St. Elmo's Fire? Not the film, the weather thing.
No, I've only ever heard of the term, but I never knew what it was.
So essentially, it's this phenomena where old ships in low pressure, where there's basically a lot of electric in the atmosphere, it made the masts glow purple. It's kind of like, when a lightning strike is purple and the sky is kind of purpley. Yeah. It's the same sort of thing. And so if you were in the 17th century on this big wooden ship and the mast started glowing purple, wow, I would believe in some mad superstitions.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's some of the noises. I remember seeing, I was on, oh, bloody hell, I'm 46 years old. I was on TikTok recently. I'd posted something on TikTok, and then, like, obviously, are you on TikTok at all?
No. Was it you dancing? Were you?
No, it definitely wasn't me. But they'll chuck a video your way, and the second you start scrolling on TikTok, that's it. Right an hour off. You're just there. Yeah. And these videos started coming up of this. He's a crab fisherman. So he's out in horrendous weather, like Deadliest Catch type of thing. Mm. But this is an American guy. And he basically started filming him jumping. Every time when the boat was in really rough weather, he'd jump. And it was just like acrobatics. Yeah. But he captured this like ungodly noise. It genuinely sounded like a woman screaming on the wind. And in the first vid that he did, he was just like, what is that? Like, he's got the video and his phone. He's like, what is that? And he started running all around the boat looking. But it happens so often. And it must be some weather phenomena. I don't know. But it happens so often. He's got loads of videos now of it. And like, people are posting up in comments going, well, it could be this. Is it that? Is it a whale? Is it all this? Yeah. And it sounds like a woman screaming is what it sounds like. So you can totally imagine the sailors of old just being like, mermaids and the demons in the oceans and stuff.
Yeah, straight away. I mean, I remember like I was out in the Irish Sea and it was completely foggy, like no visibility. And I was not far off the shore, but I just heard this howling out of nowhere. And it sounded like a werewolf or something howling. And I said, oh, God, what is this? Suddenly, everything, when you don't really know your environment or what's going on and it's foggy, it was awful. Like, I was like, God, is that what is that? It was seals. And I'd never heard a seal screaming or howling before, but they were howling like on the rocks. And I was absolutely terrified until I realized what it was. I sort of came a bit closer to shore and then the fog lifted and then there they were sort of lined up, like having a laugh at me. And I was like, yeah, like you can definitely see how like those sort of superstitions build up over the years. And like, yeah, if I had something scream,
I bet those seals were on the rocks and they were like, yeah, Fred, here's another one. Do that again. Do that thing you do. Go on, do it. They're big buggers, seals, aren't they?
Yeah. It's all fun and games until one bites you on the bum.
I grew up in the northeast of Scotland near Peterhead, right up in the sort of top corner, a bit north of Aberdeen. So me and my mate Crookie, we used to go fishing off of the breakwaters that they have in Peterhead. So they have these big, long, I think one's like half a mile. They're about half a mile long, these breakwaters. And they jut out in this massive big bay. It used to be a big whaling port back in the day. So you're almost in deep water. You can get cod and ling and conger eels and everything off of there. And I remember we were about 13, 14. And my mate Crookie has gone down the steps to the sea off the end of these breakwaters to bring in a big cod that he'd caught. And as he's down, he's like reaching in to pick up. It's like someone out of Jaws, this. He's reached in to pick up this cod, turned round to me to basically go, I've got one. And as he turned round, this seal came out the water like to eat the cod. The thing was like, Jesus, it was about at least 1.5 times the size of Crookie, if not double. It was massive.
Yeah.
He shit himself.
This is it. Yeah, it's when that happens that you suddenly realize you're like, we don't belong out here. Yeah. Like, I can't swim properly. I can't get away. Like, you realize like you don't belong there. And like, God, that would have been, I would have shit my pants. That'd been terrible.
What are your feelings about, I shouldn't say this, obviously, because you're the guys that are going to be out in the ocean doing this. When you have to get in the water and scrape the bottom of the boat, obviously I've said what I'm worried about. Do you have any concerns about that, or how do you deal with that? The unknowns of the deep.
Personally, doesn't bother me at all. I'm weirdly quite comfortable in the water.
Rosalind's just volunteered herself for cleaning the boat.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. I'm the same as you. I'm quite happy on the surface, but
no, opposite.
No, I don't like being in the water. I'm happy on top. I'm
the opposite. I don't mind being underneath. It's been on the water.
Really?
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah,
I would love to cage dive with sharks, with great whites. I would love to do that. Genuinely, I'd love to do that. But to be just like treading water and stuff, getting under the boat and dealing with it, I think I would shit myself, but I think I'd still be okay. It's the thought of jumping in and then going under. I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah.
The unknown.
I think, goggles on and then poke your face in first and just see if there's anything under there. But it's not something I'm looking forward to, like getting under the boat. That's...
He'll send me instead.
I'm going to send Rosie. Yeah, she's going to do that. I'm not going to brave it out and go, listen, darling, I'm the man here. I'm going to...
Equal opportunities, Andy, equal opportunities. Do you know what I mean?
I'm just going to be...
After you.
Yeah.
Right, that's all the clan questions over on Patreon. Are you guys okay for time?
Let's go. Right.
Awesome. Right. We've got some questions over on Instagram. So that's at TeapotOne Insta. Obviously, I will leave Andy and Rosalind's socials down below as well, folks. So make sure you give them a like and a follow. First one here, Josh Hoole, 46. How you doing, Josh? What tipples do you take on board and what sneaky snacks? We kind of covered that, but all right. Apart from your dried sort of pot noodly type meals and your biscuits, what else are you taking?
We're going to take a bit of spice rum for halfway across, like just to celebrate midway.
That was going to be my question. Like, what have you got markers where you'll have?
Yeah, just a little tipple, but weirdly, I don't know if it's a salt air or just that you're knackered. That I really went off booze around Britain and just wasn't up for it. I had a little bottle of rum with me and maybe got like a third of the way through it, and it was just a quarter. Like I didn't drink at all. I just couldn't do it. Like I'd have a mouthful. I'm like, then that's me done. And so that in terms of a little sneaky stowaway, definitely. But snack wise.
Chocolate, flapjack, party rings, nuts,
loads
jerky,
of biltong,
like just
calories, protein,
calories, fat and calories, like anything you get in. We're again, like you were saying earlier, the cost of the freeze dried rations is eye watering, and so. The porridge is the same. You're paying a fortune for porridge. So we basically, Christmas is going to be like a factory in the kitchen of just like a couple of massive buckets filled with kilos of oats. And then we're going to be chucking in like protein powder and freeze-dried fruit and stuff like that. And then when we go, 2 mega tubs of Nutella and peanut butter, and then you just like dollop a scoop in when you're there making up your breakfast and stuff. So like Beautiful. It is those little treats like that. And again, like a little tip Duncan gave me the tip of like have a boat treat every day that's not just for you, it's like morale treat for the day. So whatever it is. Andy
loves a cream egg for halfway, I think
that's my mile marker. It's like literally I'm going to buy them all up like before we go. Like hopefully cream eggs normally come out like 1st of January, don't they? It's ridiculous now.
You must be able to get them on Amazon or something for surely.
Yeah. I was like, when Andy's done good, he gets a cream egg. So like every like sort of
good boy,
like 100 miles. Yeah, get that. Keep running, good boy.
Nice one, that, Josh. Next one, Tommy GS fan. Looking forward to this one. Cheers, Tommy. I hope you're enjoying it. Official Mr. Fish. How you doing, John? Hi. Fantastic thing to do. I don't know you, but I'm weirdly proud. My dad was an avid lifeboat supporter and hated boats. My question is, Bruce once said to me he'd like to row across an insane piece of water. I can't remember what. What tips can you give Bruce or anyone thinking of doing a long-distance row?
I'd say talk to people would be the first step. So many people who've done it are, like I said earlier, so generous with their time. Talk to people, see what they've done, see what's possible. Even if you don't have a mega budget to do something like the Atlantic, maybe you could sort of borrow a boat for the summer and do Land's End to John O'Groats or something. Although actually that's quite hard, so you would need support. But yeah, that would be my advice. Talk to people.
Yeah, learn as much as you can. Like Ross says, there's so many people out there that will be generous with their time, but it's not one of those trips or projects that you can do just off the cuff. Just go, I'm just going to jump in a boat and go. Like I think like everyone this week's been telling me about Saving Lives at Sea, and like someone went out just on a unsupported training run with no kit, no nothing, and just got swept out to sea. And it happens, and it's a real danger of like ocean rowing like getting a real bad name for itself, because people just jump on the boats, have a go, and the RNLI are just pulling them out of the water left, right, and centre. And it's not cool. Like they're not there. They're not the AA. Do you know what I mean? They're there for emergencies only, and things will go wrong. And it's a sport with risks, but you have to be prepared. You've got to know your kit. You've got to know the boat inside out. You've got to know where you're going, and you've got to know the tides, particularly when you're training around the UK. Like there's so much complexity. Like the tide doesn't just go from Bournemouth to Calais and back again. You know, it's like there's like tidal currents around the coast that sort of drag you up and down from Cornwall back up to Dover, and you have to know that stuff, and you have to be humble, and you've got to sort of accept that you're never going to beat nature out there. Like the sea is a beast, and you have to give it the respect it deserves. So it's that thing, like learn as much as you can and know what you're doing before you go, because it's not just going to be all right. Like you really have to be on top of it, and that's why it takes so long to prepare for it. It's like, you know, we're just itching to go and get on with it, but we sort of accept that there's a procedure to doing it on this. Like there's other adventures or projects you can just jump on and just go. But this ain't one of them.
That's something that I really took from following Damien, was that the sea, nature will be what nature will be, and as you just said, there's no beating it. So it's what you said for him initially. I remember him saying was he thought he could beat it. Like if he just gets on and he rows and he rows and he rows and he rows with everything that he's got, he can beat it. But he said he soon realised that it's damage limitation. So, you know, some days you just have to chuck the old, is it the para anchor? Is that what they call it? The big chute. You just have to accept that, okay, I'm going to chuck this out, and I might lose 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles. Fair enough. You just got to accept that fact and deal with it. Okay, then. So as a total rookie, as some idiot stood in their room going, I fancy doing something like that, where would be the first port of call then? Where would you go to sort of introduce yourself to this community and dip your toe in the water to start things moving?
I'd probably say the Facebook group.
Yeah, there's a
Facebook places. Group called...
It's the Ocean Rowing Society on Facebook. Like they're like full of information and huge mix of people, of like coaches and just interested people. There's the boat manufacturers and like other organizers. Like again, Talisker is that one-stop shop. If you've got the cash, like call them and you'll be put down on the wait list, and there's loads of knowledge there. If you want to go independent, hit the Facebook group and you'll get leads very quickly into that. Or give me a call. Like I'm more than happy to sort of point people in the right direction and like, go on our Instagram or drop us an email. Like more than happy to sort of like show people what everyone showed me. And
Andy is very humble, but he coaches a lot of the teams who row independently around Britain now and sort of guides them around and stuff. But so he does know whatever you want to do, the right person to get in touch with. So I volunteer him. You plainly are a not shout from the rooftops type of person, aren't you? You're there if the information is needed. You'll pass it, but you're not one that's going to stand there and go, I can do this. You know, come see me.
It is that thing. Yeah, I've guided a couple of teams around since I rode. I've guided a few teams around and done their weather routing for them and stuff. So it's a nice thing to sort of pass on the knowledge that was sort of given to me.
I love that. I think that's all you can do, isn't it? It's nice to just pass the baton on and, as you just said, pass on your experience, your knowledge, and go from there. Nice one. Cheers, John. That was a great question, mate. Thank you. Captain Pugwash rides. So what's he saying? Tie his beard up for TeapotOne. Tie his beard up or else you'll get waterlogged. Cheers. Thank you very much for that. Dave the sidecar dog. Andy isn't looking forward to the bucket, but as they'll be... did you meet Dave at the armchair?
Dave's in both Daves are in the 100 Club, actually.
Oh, fantastic. Nice one, Dave. Good on you. Good on you. He says, Andy isn't looking forward to the bucket, but as they'll be living in such a small space during this adventure, will it double up as anything else to save space? Rosalind is the person... Okay, well, let's cover that first then. Do you use the bucket for anything other than...
It's also the washing tub, yeah. So we wash our clothes in the same bucket, yeah.
We have sterilising stuff.
We'll give it a squirt first, but I mean, the truth of the matter is, by like week 2, you're so disgusting anyway. Like it doesn't matter. Like Ros showed me footage that I'd forgotten about of when she checked it all out of us rowing around Britain, and
take 2 buckets.
Yeah, space.
One in the other one. Just fit it inside it.
Okay, no, that's not.
So we have like a squidgy bucket thing as well,
which would collapse if you sat on it.
Yeah, but for more washing.
But for washing, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were taking the mick. I didn't realise you actually were going to wash your stuff in the shit bucket.
No, you do.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. What I did, like Ros might bring a bit more hygiene to the affair.
I might bring a squidgy bucket.
Yeah.
I think everyone else takes 2 buckets.
Yeah. I think so.
That'll explain the smell when I finish.
Yeah. There's this great video when he's rowing back up the Thames, 6 months at sea, and he's sort of smelling himself and going, do you know what? I think it's true what they say. You self-clean after a little while. I don't smell at all. And then there's photos of him getting off and his family going, like, refusing to hug him because he absolutely stinks.
Yeah. Like,
that's brilliant.
I'm told the smell was phenomenal. Like, I mean, I can only get it from... I had a shower that night, and then the days after I had to get in and clean the boat, and the cabin was vile. Like, literally... like a homeless guy had been in it for 6 months, and there had been a homeless guy in it for 6 months, and I just stank. It was...
I remember that smell. I don't know if you know, I used to be a police officer, and I remember the cells sometimes when you had people in there who hadn't washed in a long time or did certain things in the cell. Oh my God, the smell was horrendous. Oh.
Yeah, we're relying on Ros to clean up the action here.
Right, next one from Dave. Rosalind is the person most likely to lose things overboard, but what musical choice of Andy's would she throw overboard first? I'm guessing music will be a big help during the crossing. Okay, that's another question. So this one, musical choice of Andy's that you'd throw overboard first.
Oh God, I don't know. We're quite similar in. Well, I like a bit more Amber, but is there anything of yours I'd throw overboard?
I don't know. Like I mean, I've got a pretty eclectic mix, anything from like Pixies to Bob Dylan and stuff. So it's sort of. I was going
to say, what's the playlist?
Yeah,
varied. And if people want to suggest songs, please do.
Yeah, start a playlist. That would be epic.
I love it.
Really what would I throw overboard? Anything. There are certain noises that like just stress me out a little bit when I'm tired. I think anything that's too screamy doesn't
yeah, whereas well. If I want to get a shift on, then angry music is for me. Pixies, Nirvana and stuff like that, and get there. So
whereas I love a power ballad. Meatloaf, Bonnie Tyler.
Yeah.
John Paul.
Oh wow.
Love it. Yeah.
This is going to be a party boat, this is.
Yeah.
When you were saying about noises, one thing that just jumped in my head is my wife. My wife hates hearing people eat. And I get it. If people are like really noisy, like a dog eating it, I get that.
Yeah.
But with she'll look at me. We'll be sat in the living room or something, and I'll be eating like a sandwich or something, and you make like an inconspicuous noise from eating, and she's just glowering at me. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
I have the same thing.
Do you?
I don't know what it is. And I really try not to like act on it because I know it's my problem.
Yeah.
But there is just, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's just something about it that sends my brain going, get
Yeah. I eat with my mouth closed on pain of death.
I just sit there with my mouth open like that. Just look at her right in the eye, like you're going to do on the bucket. Dave's got one more there. I'm guessing music will be a big help during the crossing. So which song is their joint favourite?
It's got to be John Paul. Or is it?
No.
Uka Chaka.
Yeah. What is that?
Reservoir.
Uka. That one.
Yeah.
What's that song called?
From Guardians of the Galaxy, but like
the Guardians of the Galaxy
Reservoir
soundtrack.
Dogs. Come on, it's Reservoir Dogs originally. I'm sure my age here.
Yeah, the whole soundtrack we very much enjoy.
Yeah,
I got a feeling. That's what it's called. Sorry, that's been bugging me as soon as you started saying it. I was like, what is that song? I've got a feeling.
We also like the Pina Colada song.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we like?
I think it's anything like music's at its best on board when it just digs you out of a hole. Yeah. So like anything like just a bit cheery and fun.
When I'm proper down, I just need to listen to Man in Motion, St. Elmo's Fire, and I'm absolutely happy as Larry again. I don't know what, but it just absolutely.
You said it. You said it before that Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, phenomenal, isn't it? That is brilliant. That is like a feel-good soundtrack.
So good. Yeah. So definitely taking that on the playlist. Definitely.
Nice one. And Dave also says, P.S. Can you remind them to bring us back a fridge magnet and a stick of rock and to send us a postcard?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't know how you're going to do the postcard thing, but you know. And the last one is the RNLI. They say, huge good luck to everyone taking part. Wishing you safe rowing.
Oh, cheers, guys.
Bless them. Yeah. Like phenomenal charity. Like every row or expedition I do it's raising money for those guys. Because again, around Britain, I met so many of the crews and it's all volunteers in local communities jumping on boats in terrible weather to go out and get people. And like, I was caught in a couple of gales when I was out there and it's just terrifying. You're in a little bay on an anchor, just trying to let it blow through. And I always kind of say you've never really been scared until you've been scared by the sea, because it was a new level of terrifying. And just have blokes and girls on shore that go, we'll go and get them. They don't have to do that. And so, hats off to them. I love it. What a great charity.
It's a very special, dare I say, service, but it's a very special thing that they do, isn't it? Yeah, just absolutely. As you said, they're not getting paid for that, are they? So it's sort of out of the kindness of their heart to go and do it. I was going to ask, what is the connection with these charities then? Well, the RNLI and Blue Marine Foundation.
For me, the RNLI started by prepaying my own rescues. So it literally, I was like, look, I'm going to spend this much time in the coast around Britain. Like, these guys are the guys that are going to go out and help if it's needed. So that's where the charity for me started. And then getting to know the coxswains and the crews around the country that I'm still in touch with now was really special. And like I say, hats off to them for what they do. So I think they're well worth supporting. And then charity.
The Blue Marine Foundation are an ocean science and conservation charity, which very much my kind of cup of tea. So like I say, I work in science education and I do a lot of earth sciences and environmental sciences as well. And they do some amazing work that is really, there's often within conservation this kind of battle between, particularly in an ocean environment, sort of fishing versus conservation, whereas they do it in a really equitable way. So, you know, fishermen have a really bad time if there are no fish in the water because of habitat loss. So they do it in a really community focused way with the local people in each area and sort of, oyster rewilding essentially. So they do some amazing policy and conservation work around the UK and internationally. So that's kind of where they came in.
Okay, right. I get you. That to me, it makes sense, isn't it? In that, you know, we will always fish. We're always going to reap the harvest from the sea that we can. But as you said, it's a question of trying to find a balance there where we can get what we need from it without screwing it up completely. Have you seen Seaspiracy? I'm assuming you must have watched Seaspiracy.
I have, yes.
Jeez. What did you think of that?
We're getting deep now.
Okay.
I thought it was a very good way of highlighting some issues. I thought it was a little bit one-dimensional on some issues that are a lot more complex than it suggests.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between the huge trawlers that are, digging up half the seabed and local fishermen who are trying to fish sustainably, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry, go on. Apologies. Go on.
No, it was a good way of starting a conversation, I'd say.
Yeah, that was it. I think for me personally, I watched it and I was just like, holy fuck, was screwed. And it put me off like any type of seafood for about 6 months. I was like, I'm not touching anything. I'm not doing anything. That's incredible. But then, as you said, the more I started talking to various different people on the podcast and just in day-to-day life, it's like, yeah, hang on a minute. That documentary is to highlight their message, trying to step back and have a bigger look at it, take a bigger picture of it. And as you just said, it was very true in that, excuse me, what I hope I said earlier, in that we can't not fish. People rely on it for livelihoods, from the local villages through to, the people on the factory ships. They've still got families to look after, don't they? So we're always going to have to reap the harvest from the sea, but it's going to be a question of trying to reach a sustainable level, isn't it?
Yeah. It's making sure it's making sure it's there to be fished for the next generation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And sustainability isn't just stopping everything we do at the moment. It's making sure we can keep doing things, whether that's balancing like traditional farming with rewilding. They don't have to be against each other. They can work really well side by side and benefit both, because like I say, if a fisherman's got nothing to fish, then they're stuffed, right? So it is just really striking the balance, and good environmental work is having those things hand in hand, working together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I'd never heard of Blue Marine Foundation, to be honest with you. So, folks, what I'll do is I'll leave links for both the RNLI and the Blue Marine Foundation down below, as well as the Atlantic Escapade website, all your socials. I'll put them all down by as well. Guys, that's us done all the questions. Is there anything that we've not addressed that you want to chat about?
No. I think we covered it. That's kind of it.
I just say, when we go, we'll have a satellite tracker. So, you'll be able to follow us along if that's something you fancy. We'll hopefully take messages on the halfway, so you can send us a row faster message. And if anyone just wants to chat about ocean rowing, the RNLI, the Blue Marine Foundation, whatever, we're always
drop us an email.
Always keen.
It's just been nice chatting about it, to be honest. It's like, sort of listening to the podcast and the guys that have done epic stuff, like we haven't really done it yet. And so like, it's like yourself and Thor, the stuff he was doing. And then like, you've got Simon and Lisa Thomas on it. And it's like all these people that have done these epic things. So like, we're really grateful to
you guys are no different. Honestly, you're no different. Don't worry about it. I would love, once you've done it, whatever happens on the voyage and the adventure ahead, I'd love to get you back on in the future and we can have another chat about it if you're up for it.
100%, that'd be fab.
100%. Let's do it. And then we'll book that tester row. We'll get you out in the sailor. And
I'd love to do it. Absolutely. I would love to do that. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh, I can see where this is going. Right, folks, make sure I'll leave all the links down below. Make sure you give the guys a bit of a follow, a like, a subscribe. And if you fancy being part of the 100 Club, again, give them the support that they need for this. I wish you the very best of luck on the adventure. I can't wait to follow it.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us on. It's been cool. Cheers, man.
I've loved it. Thank you very much for spending your Friday evening chatting to me. It's been great. Right, folks, hope you've enjoyed this one. Keep doing your thing. Get on out there whenever you can. Look after those that you love. But most importantly, Live your life. Woo-ha! Cheers, guys. I loved that. That was awesome.